Hello friends, welcome to my study for the first of these midweek musings, which we kind of offer to you as a means by which you might ponder a bit more what's going on for you at this time and how it might be weaved in with the story of your faith. And we're going to do that in various ways, I think, over the coming weeks. But this first week I wanted to begin with a little bit of scripture from Isiah. And I wanted to offer you that to perhaps listen to first of all. And if you were doing the Monday to Wednesday Holy Week studies, just to listen to that and then hit the pause button and reflect a little bit on the passage and see how that passage might be speaking to you at this moment in time. And then I'll offer one or two reflections afterwards and hope that they might be in some way useful to you. So it's from Isaiah, from chapter 43, verses 18 to 21. And they're verses which have always spoken to me in some way about the nature and the revelation of God, how God is known to us now. Do not remember the former things, or consider the things of old. I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. The animals will honour me, the jackals and the ostriches. For I give water in the wilderness, rivers in the desert, to give drink to my chosen people, the people whom I formed for myself, so that they might declare my praise. So hit the pause button, reflect on those words of Scripture, and think for yourselves how they might speak to you at this time. Okay, so I hope that was a helpful exercise. There are some wonderfully rich words in there, some powerful images that help us, I think, at this time. They speak of a new thing happening even in the time of wilderness. And I just wanted to reflect a little on that passage based on our encounter with this coronavirus. And if you're anything like me, you'll be very aware that fear seems to be all around us. We're understandably, in many cases, very afraid of what's happening. Perhaps one manifestation of it is and rightly so, given the guidance that we've received, but when we go out walking and people will cross to the other side. But that in itself is understandable. What accompanies me with it, which is a little more troubling, is that people do seem to look afraid. You can almost see the fear in their eyes. And it's as if they don't want to make eye contact with you or still say hello, even though it is 2 meters apart. Of course, some people do. But there are many who don't, and that it seems to me sad. So alongside all the wonderful acts of kindness that have defined something of this time, there's also a fear alongside it, understandably, because coronavirus is life-threatening. But I wonder if we've got the balance quite right in the midst of that. And also, I think, when we're living out of a place of fear, that tends to be the lens by which we see the world, and actually that makes it difficult for new things to be born. We're overly anxious, overly concerned. Time and again in Scripture, when God does a new thing, the accompanying emotion is fear. Just think of Mary, for example. Mary's kind of fear and anxiety about what the future might hold for her. But that's just one example. Again and again we see something new happening, fear being the accompanying emotion. Now, in the midst of this epidemic, this pandemic, are we to be fearful or are we to seize an opportunity for a new thing to be done? And that new thing, I think, takes many forms. It can be in terms of how we work. It can be in terms of how we use our time. One of the signs of our times is people saying, up until about a month ago, I have no time for anything. And now that they've got time, they're really anxious about what that looks like, fearful about what to do with their time, if you like. But yet, here comes a new opportunity. We do have time to reflect, time to be, time to pray, time to take up a new pastime perhaps, time to spend a bit more time in the garden. And then when we're in the garden, for example, if you're lucky enough to have one, or even if not, when we perhaps step outside or open the window, we can just absorb what's around us a little bit more. We can smell things, we can see things. I mean, the sights and the sounds of spring are wonderful. They bring us alive. As the season is coming alive, so we come alive with it. The cycle of winter has been left, and we've come alive into the springtime. So there's an opportunity that a new thing is opening up amidst all this time of fear and anxiety. And I think that's what God's revelation is about, is that God is, as the resurrection itself reminds us, a God of new things, a God who is opening up new possibilities for us. So that's really my short reflection, my midweek musing for this week, is spend a bit of time with that bit of Isiah, pause, reflect on it, think about the words, think about how they might be speaking to you. And then perhaps, if you wish to, hold that image of a new thing being done, and that we may not perceive it because we're afraid, we're fearful, we're anxious, we're clinging on to something. But in this difficult time, this challenging time, perhaps a new thing is being opened up in how we see ourselves, in how we see our life, in how we see those who love us, and that there's an opportunity. So I pray that might be true for me and for you. God bless you, and see you next week.